Hi everyone, it's Ronnie again, and I'm having a series of conversations with seven amazing coaches, and this is one of those conversations. And in a minute, I'm going to introduce the speaker, who I guess many people don't know at all. And this interview is for my program called the Empowerment Blueprint Program, and I'm doing these interviews to give people a sense of my program, to see, is this something that might inspire them? And let me take this opportunity to come back to my guest, because he asked me a profound question before we even press record. So my guest speaker for today is none other than my own coach, Moritz. And um, I don't know if you have been following my journey so far, you would have seen me tag someone called Moritz a number of times. So that's the guy that I keep tagging. So if you think, okay, who does Ronnie keep tagging? This is the guy, and there's a very good reason for me tagging him. But let me just say who Moritz is for me. He's a powerful coach, and obviously you might say, but Ronnie, what's the big deal? There are many powerful coaches in the world, so why Moritz? I got to meet Moritz last year in the AJC school, and he missed the first, I think he missed the first weekend. Uncles asked us to speak to Moritz and give him a sense of what he has missed. So I also said yes, and then we got on a conversation. And one thing that struck me about Moritz was his presence. There's something about his presence that's very calming. So that's the first thing I noticed about him. And then, just not going into details, but I ended up hiring him as a coach. And then I also signed up for his Being Business program, which he is going to run again next year. And I think it will be fair to say that working with Moritz, working with the AJC school, also working with Sachin, my life has taken almost like a 360-degree turn. And the best thing I learned from Moritz is about being. One of the things I'd identified working with Sachin is that I have a tendency to speed up in life. And when I joined his program, the Being Business program, I thought that if the only thing I get is to slow down, that will be my money's worth. And I'm getting a bit emotional here, but I think I achieved that, Moritz. So it was amazing. Rather than me doing the slowing down, it was the universe allowing me to slow down, or giving a huge hand in me slowing down. And yeah, so it's very powerful. Be careful what you ask for. That's what I asked for. But slowing down, part of my worry is that by slowing down, I would also stop being inspiring, stop taking action. But that was not the case at all. I slowed down. I think I slowed down enough to feel empowered from within. Coming back to the theme of the program, I think life slowed me down enough for me to sense the beauty of life and what I was missing out by being constantly like doing one thing after another and chasing one goal after another. That's who Maurice has been for me. He has been a stand for all the participants, and I would also say me. And wow, what introduction! Welcome, Maurice.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you so much. And yeah, what an introduction. I see that I can do justice. Can I say a few words maybe just to add on that? Thank you so much for the powerful way you've just introduced me to this program and asking me to be part of that program. And it's been a tremendous pleasure getting some insight into your life and what you're committing yourself to and what you're standing for in your commitment to this mental health profession that we have as human beings, and really looking at how can we have mental wealth, not only mental health. And I find it so inspirational watching what you're up to, creating this program, creating the Beyond Diagnose program, which I think you still run. Yeah. And just putting yourself out there in action, and now doing that from a place of not being in a rush, from a place of just taking the action and really being present to what is. So thank you so much. And just about me, a handful of words. I'm working as a coach. I originally come from the arts. I worked as a performer, a choreographer. I work with children and adults and teenagers and people with and without disabilities, with movement, dance, and creation of pieces within the performing arts before I transitioned into bodywork and coaching. And I'm really fascinated by self-expression, by what allows people to be fully self-expressed, by what it opens when somebody opens themselves to themselves, and what can emerge from that place. So I hope I can bring a little bit of that into whatever our conversation is going to be about today, and into the program that you're providing to beautiful people out there.
Thank you, Moritz. Thank you. This program is about empowerment from the inside out, and I call it the empowerment blueprint. And right at the beginning, before we even press record, you said, Rani, what is it that you would like the listeners to get out of this conversation? And I said, although I would love people to be inspired and enroll in my program, that's not the only reason for this short interviews. I also want people to really get a sense of what is possible for them and how empowerment comes from within. It's not the doing that they're doing, but it's about who they're being when they're doing whatever they're doing. And because all your programs and who you are about is about being, can you say something about from doing to being? Can you say something about that for people who are thinking, how on earth can I switch from doing to being?
Oh, that's a great question. I think one take on this is that a lot of the doing that we experience as a human being, I find, is not really in the action. It's not really in the conversation. It's not really in performing work or in doing whatever you're doing, right? But a lot of the doing we experience is in our mind. It's like the constant rumination of, oh, and then I need to do this, and then I need to be there. Oh shit, I didn't do this right. I should do it better. Why didn't I do X? Why didn't I and still I'm not there, and oh, everybody else is doing this better than I do. And in most of the conversations I have with people, that's the doing they're actually dealing with. It's seldom the action of picking something up and putting it down. It's seldom the conversation itself. Like right now, I can speak with you, and it can be a sense of words just coming and the conversation happening. I'm not pre-thinking every word I'm saying. It's just what's coming out, right? And then there are many moments when we hit against something and we get a rebound into our body, into our mind, and then into thinking there's something wrong here. Something should be different. I need to be better. I'm not enough. I'm lacking something. And then this constant sense of doing. And sometimes it can also express itself in the sense, like if I'm following the idea that everything I do, I'm never enough, I'm never doing enough, right? It might express itself in someone taking over hours all the time, like never stopping to work, never shutting down, constantly being busy, going busy in their head to bed, like they never stop doing. And on the contrary, there can be a person working from the outside, you see them working all the time, but they're actually just present to their being, just being immersed in the work, being immersed in the conversation. To me, like, probably two things I connect is like from doing to being. The word for me personally, which captures most my own exploration or attempt, is the word devotion. In devotion, you are giving yourself to whatever is, right? If it's crossing the street, it's crossing the street. If it's the conversation, if it's an uncomfortable feeling, if it's whatever shows up, in being devoted to your life, your work, your children, your husband, your partner, whatever, that being present to shows up naturally in that. And I think oftentimes we try to figure out the doing in our head, which actually is not even necessary. We can just, it's easier said. Sometimes we can't because we're so wrapped up in our own thinking. But in actuality, there's just this conversation right now. All the rest is not here. When people get that, it slows down and they enter into what they then call, I'm just being me. I'm just being present. I'm just being myself.
Beautiful, beautiful. So it's exploration of, it's the absence of the inner doing or less of the inner doing. I get you. There's so much of internal doing. We might be thinking like, okay, we are sitting for an appointment, or we are sitting for, I don't know, to catch a train or something. But there could be a lot of internal doing. And if that was like eliminated, or if that was less, that we would be showing up for whatever there is. What a beautiful way you expressed it, Moritz. And I can see the contrast to the inner doing, which is the inner freedom. And that's the name of your retreat, which is beautiful. And I should say to people, go check out Moritz Space and see what he's offering. But going back to the topic for today and empowerment, one of the things that I've been asking the speakers is to share what is known as the document, and to share their understanding of what the document means and how did they go about creating the document for them. So can you say a bit about it?
The document to me is built on an understanding that we have created ways of being, we have created ideas about ourselves that we are operating from. So a very simple example, if I'm seeing myself as a dancer, and I could say my life experience has backed up that I'm a dancer, right? I'm practicing dance, but that's the idea I have about myself. That's the way I'm going to present myself. That's what I'm looking for in the world. That's the distinctions I see, right? Somebody walks on the street and sees a pole, and I see, oh, I could do a move on that. I could turn around it. I could whatever, because I'm a dancer, right? And what I do is dance, right? So that's an identity I've picked up, I created in my life. Now, that allows for certain things and it doesn't allow for other things, right? Because whatever way I'm perceiving myself, this is also the filter I have for the world. From the frame of being a dancer, I might not look into what investment bankers are doing. That doesn't occur. I will still walk past the street and might see even a bank, but I won't even recognize it. Right? I won't even see that this exists until the moment there's a thought, there's something coming into my mind. I'm like, oh, I'd be curious about investment banking. Like, I wonder what it's like to be an investment banker. Wonderment starts and I get creative about that. So that's great, right? That's just happening for all of us. But there are also ways of being that we've created very early in our life. Decisions we made about ourselves or about how the world is that are influencing whatever we can see, perceive, make known in our own world and be able to distinguish. So let's say I've made up as a 5-year-old that I'm not a good writer. So you could say, interesting. So what? But this statement of belief for me was a statement of fact. So from 5 years old until I was 25, I lived with, I'm not a good writer. In fact, I even practiced writing with the sentence, I'm not good at writing, I'm not good at writing. And I would just write that on pages, right? So how did the world occur to me? Every time I had to write something, I would experience stress. I would experience wanting to avoid. I would experience trying to find my way around it. That was built at a time where I didn't have a perspective on that. There was a comparison, some way I made up I should be. I wasn't that. I was 5 years old. Didn't have a lot of practice with a pen. So made that statement about myself and believed it. And it was a fact. Now that's influencing my life. And you could say, oh, that's a very little influence. This one thing shaped my whole experience of many situations. Today, that's not my way of being anymore. I stand in front of a group. I made up, like, it doesn't matter if I make a mistake. I just ask. But we have hundreds of ways of being, beliefs that we have about ourselves and the world. And what the document is for me is knowing that, understanding that, and looking at all of those statements that we can find that are not empowering, but limiting to us. What the document does is it brings that stuff up. You look at it and you get to have a conversation with yourself about what's more true about yourself than this statement that you made up at one point. It's now influencing everything, how you look at the world, what's possible for you and what not. And the document is creating a conscious way of being that is not that limited belief about myself. I hope that answers your question.
It definitely does. And if anyone is very new to this, at least what I would say is that you need to check out the Ultimate Coach book. And please, if you get it, please DM me and say, Rani, I've got the book now. What shall I do? How shall I read it? I'll tell you exactly how to read it. But right now, I want to talk more about the document and what Moritz is sharing, because what he just said is profound. We talked about empowerment. We are talking about empowerment blueprint. It's not about trying to get a positive mindset when all of this is running the show, like you said, and it's about how do we create a way of being that empowers us from the inside out. And Moritz, can we go on a specific example? Thank you for sharing with me your document. And I have written down a line from the document that I would like to read out for the audience and for you to expand on this, okay? And the line I've got here is, I am that I hold no complaints and speak no complaints over no one and no thing. And the reason I wanted to bring this out is because it's so easy to complain. Oh, I thought it was going to be sunny. I didn't bring my raincoat. No, it's raining now. That's a complaint. Or they were so rude to me. Or why did they not thank me for what I have done for them? We can easily get into life and have complaints. Is it really possible that I hold no complaints and speak no complaints? And what has been possible for you with this declaration that this is how you're going to show up and this is your way of being?
Like the other one, like I'm not good at writing, it doesn't always show up, or it didn't always show up, but it was a declaration about myself, a declaration belief. It was like, I decided that this is true. There were also moments when I didn't remember that it was true, and then I remembered that it was true, and then it affected me again. The document, in a way, is aspirational. It's a direction for me. It is a North Star. This declaration specific is coming out of the understanding that I do complain. Oftentimes, I found myself complaining, right? I found that my mind, like the thoughts in my head, the conversations in my head, like somebody walks the street and I'm like, oh, this doesn't look great. They look unhealthy. It goes in ways that I cast judgment on other people or myself. what I'm declaring myself to be is someone that doesn't hold on to complaints and that I don't speak them. That is one area that I can affect to a certain degree, that I don't speak them. And when I find myself speaking, I'm like, oh, I give it up. I give up whatever came up for me. Like, yeah, today is really hard. Oh, wait a second. Okay, that's a complaint. Can I give that up? Yes, I can give that up. And I go back to being free of complaints. Now, if you look very closely and you stop complaining in your life, you will be surprised that many of the conversations don't go so smoothly anymore, because we as humans seem to be getting a lot of joy out of our complaints, or getting something from our complaints. Get to be right, we get to avoid, or I get to avoid taking responsibility for things. I think it's one of the core commitments that I'm declaring myself to, and the effect that it has is profound. It doesn't let me participate in most of the self-pity conversations I would otherwise create about my situation, my life, myself, my body. So to look at that, think about how would it be if you're sick and you're just sick. You have pain and you have pain. And that's just it. And there's no other conversation about that. If the conversation can be like, oh, could I get some medicine? Yes, I get some medicine. Then you take the medicine or not. Hey, honey, do you need anything? No, I don't need anything. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. How are you feeling? I have fever and pain. Okay. That's not a complaint. That's just stating what you experience. And that's it. Imagine that you have a full day of work and you just do the full day of work. There is no, oh, shit, why do I have to do this again? It's so hard, right? And instead of doing that, you now have a choice. Either you do something and it'd be like, okay, this program isn't working as well as I think. So I write a message to support and ask, hey, I noticed something in there. Can we fix that part? I think it would make the experience way smoother. Or you don't do anything. What I experience is oftentimes I get way quieter and I talk less when I'm really present to, hey, I am that I speak no complaints. I hold no complaints. I speak no complaints. So I'm not part of this conversation.
Going back to what you said about the internal doing we have, if we have no complaints going on and there's no internal doing going on, we can't help but get present. We can't help but feel empowered from within. So rich, so simple. Maybe not easy and it requires practice, but it is simple. Moritz, I think this would be a nice time to end. And is there any final thing you want to say to the people who are watching this interview?
Absolutely. If you're thinking about joining the program, don't think about it. Reach out to Rani and sign up. There is incredible value in this program. You gathered amazing people. I know most of them personally. And I can say, I would put my hand into the fire for every person, especially you, running this program and knowing that you all stand for exceptional value for whoever participates. So if you're looking to create yourself and if you're looking to be empowered and give empowerment to others, if you're looking to create your business, create your life in the way that really speaks to your heart, I think you're in the right place to do that. So reach out and take action. Don't complain.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, Moritz Lembert, thank you for coming.
Thank you.